1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I think we are good to start. Dobro večer svima. Dobrodošli u Fotografisku. Good evening everyone and welcome to Fotografiska. I hope you feel comfortable. Our floor is very soft, so I was even imagining some of you sitting there. There's one Balkan saying, kad čeljad nije bijesna, ni kuća nije tijesna. Which means if the kids aren't angry and mad, even the smallest house is not too tiny. Or in other words, it's all about holding the space for each other, about the harmony, and about the presence. So I hope in that spirit you will be with us tonight. My name is Marina Paulenka and I'm curator of this exhibition. And I would say it's a real pleasure to welcome you, and also mine very personal, to welcome you at the opening of exed, a solo exhibition by remarkable artist Šejla Kamerić. I was thinking how to introduce Šejla. I would say that I've been long driven by her work, and not only because we are both coming from the same background, that for me her work was always a necessary confrontation with collective memory. It is a feminine archive of war and survival, and somehow it always guided me, it challenged me, and it stayed with me. At the same time, it's very poetic and bold, and it speaks about tension, absence, and resilience. It also holds a lot of memory, but not the memory in a kind of nostalgia, but something that is really alive and urgent to talk about. And I would really say that her artworks leave no one indifferent. For the past 25 years, Šejla is exhibiting worldwide, and her works are part of the very important museum collections. But many of you may know her or remember her by her iconic work, Bosnian Girl, which is a guerrilla poster campaign made in 2003. And we are showing this work at the beginning of this show, even it's not officially a part of this exhibition, but for us is an important part of, like a point of departure, like a context holder. And it communicates very, very significantly with the text and the images in the exhibition. However, this show, exed, brings us in completely new space. Here Šejla is bringing some already existing body of work and completely new body of work which is made for us, for Fotografiska. She's telling the stories about 3 generations, about herself, her mother, and a daughter. And somehow we are creating this hybrid constellation that asks us, who are we after all these structures falls, and what remains? However, this show, I think it doesn't give answers, but somehow it motivates us to decide what we are carrying further, or forward. I'm also pleased to say that Šejla is actually first Balkan artist ever exhibiting in Fotografiska, and this show after Berlin will continue its journey to Fotografiska, Tallinn and Stockholm. Yes, so after our conversation that will touch many different topics, important topics about your work, we will also have a book signing in front of the gallery space, and then after that I invite you all to join upstairs in Veronica Bar. Okay? So, once again, please join me in welcoming amazing, uncompromising Šejla Kamerić. So, good evening, my dear. How are you feeling? Thank you. Very good. You? Very good. Very emotional. I feel somehow that this is my show. That I'm artist. It should be
That's good that the curator feels so emotional about the show. I enjoyed working with you because you really felt all the works and it was a close collaboration, so thank you.
You're welcome. Šejla, I would like that we start with the title of this show, XU. So many people ask me, what is it with assumptions? But I would like to ask you, what was your initial spark for this exhibition? And how does it communicate with personal, political, and after national, let's say?
Well, the questions of identity, post-nation, yeah. I mean, I've been struggling with these questions from very early age, I would say, like when I started my art career, very soon I made the work which you described, the Bosnian girl, so I became this Bosnian artist, but in the same time I always complained about these national identities and being, labeled as such, because I don't feel like, why Bosnian, like why not, European, or why not Yugoslavian, or why not ex-Yugoslavian, or am I, what does it mean to have all these labels, and what does it mean to belong to someone? Because, first of all, like I am born in Sarajevo in Bosnia, but it was a part of Yugoslavia, and now it's an ex-Yugoslavia region as a kind of like cultural space, but do I have a support which nation states in a Western society give, or like this notion of what does this support and system should be? No, but then in the same time I've been labeled, or Bosnia also claiming me as their own artist, and kind of like it was always a struggle with this. And you can't somehow avoid it, because that's how we all function, even in the art world, which is so, kind of like open and liberating, and we don't want to label anyone, but then we do. And so XU started with something else. It started with most of the questions that I tackled in my artworks. In one moment, of course, we are all aging, and I felt like, what does it mean to use my own body again in the art, in the works that I create, and then what's that body, what's that image, what's my face, and who am I, and what would mean to kind of like delegate that to someone else, to some other body, and I always, as many of you know, I direct films as well, from time to time, or I had some films I did which had their own life on the film festivals, and so I love that role as well. Like I love directing, so I thought like it would be interesting to direct someone to be my own body and to be and then like from all these ideas, and somehow also of course the research, and which I hate as a word now because artists overused it. I thought of the XU kind of like, being exed, kind of like being in the past. And then, as I'm heavily dyslexic and dysgraphic, for me, language is always an obstacle or something that I need to conquer. So I even have, I know that I have difficulties even speaking. It's, everybody says, oh, no, you don't, but I know I do. And then it's always something like how to form the sentence, or how to form the word. So XU is XU, it's ex-Yugoslavia, so it's a place where I belong, which then, of course, for others and for the European context, it's easier to think about as these nations which were divided and in the war, and they're like, oh, they hate each other, they are now separated, and it was, better because they now can, some of them which are more progressive can be part of European Union, those who are not are like, this, I will not curse, this part of the Balkan that is, we will see what to do. So anyway, it was interesting, you know, this ex-you notion and somehow a true identity of belonging for us who were born in that region in a certain time. So that was also very strong political question for us who understand that context. But then in the same time, as I said, like, you know, like it was between this issue of what does a human body can carry and how long it can carry, and where do we separate from what, you know, what we want to leave and how we, you know, transition into the future. So it was also very much about the technology and how, you know, like our image is being processed or changed, and how also with the technology and the science we can, you know, preserve our features, like with the different cosmetic procedures and how, like, so there are many layers with that. And then I thought, you know, just it's a good title.
Yeah, you were mentioning research and artists, but still I think that you have, and you're using our very powerful tools, you know. When we are like in this space, we feel your strong presence, but you are also using language of absence, like sometimes semi-empty rooms, erased names, censored texts. So can you speak a little bit about the aesthetics of absence that you're using in your art as a feminist, but also as a political strategy?
Yeah, well, just before we came down for in the space for the opening, this very intimate opening, I love how it's intimate. Thank you for that. We spoke about, you know, how the works that are in the exhibition are made because of the experience that we had in our life, and a lot of that is actually the absence, because I think in a way artists are fulfilling certain voids. You know, we want to capture something, we want to create something, and you know, sometimes it comes from a different need. You know, you want to create the image so you can remember it forever, or, you know, like it will be evidence. But sometimes it's recreating something which was taken from your memory. So it functions in both ways. It functions from, you know, fixing the past as well as fixing the future. And I love that in art making, actually. And I think that absence is you know, kind of like a tool, rather, you know, that we use. And
in this new body of work, we can see that you are exposing and playing and somehow putting your body in a way that it's at the same time a target and a monument. So can you tell us, how do you navigate these spaces between vulnerability and resistance in your representation of female body?
Well, there is, you know, I don't think that I'm succeeding. It's just like this attempt of being open to whatever it comes, and I just, you know, do it from a very crazy need to articulate certain things, and as a female body is always in a constant transition because of the cycles because we are not in this kind of like a rules of years and days and morning, like it's always the cycles, and I think that it comes naturally to us to face these cycles in a different way, and to try to understand our own body, because the system was not, it's not made, or it doesn't give us an answers. So yeah, maybe it's that's why we are what we are, like doing it in a feminine way.
Yeah, I'm thinking about reclaiming your power, bringing again control with your images, thinking about Bosnian girls and those graffitis in your body, and now creation of these triptychs that we can see that you did in collaboration with your daughter, 9-year-old daughter. I would like to hear a little bit more about your relationship with her, her role into making this, I don't know how to call them, self-portraits, nudes, and what role she played here.
Well, that came so spontaneous. Because we spoke, like I knew that I wanted to do these portraits, and then it was really a negotiation between my mother and my daughter, how that they just accept that I take them to this photo studio where they would and actually these photos are just passport photos, which is interesting to mention. It's not done in any professional or kind of like secondary. I just took the ID photo for them. So that was, but even doing this small gesture of kind of like, okay, I need your ID photo, even from both sides, my mother and my daughter, they ask like, why, like why do you, like, and I'm like, I might use it in my work, and then they kind of like, start to interrogate why, like why would you need, like why, what would we, and then in this conversation, because they are like, both of them are so not interested in what I'm doing, they are like honestly, like they can't care less about the art, they wanted to find out really personal reasons why would I do that, and like what would be the like how it would be used. And then with the photos, they kind of like understood when I described this transition, I think, in how we inherit and this transgenerational. So they got the answer. But with the body, I thought, first of all, I've been a subject of. I took my own photos. I've been in front of camera of many photographers, recently I did a series with Goran Kamerić, late feminist photographer from Serbia, and that was really intimate, because it was the first time when I was in front of the camera of a female photographer. And somehow I thought, and she passed away when we were making this exhibition, and then I somehow, maybe because of also because I missed her and talking to her, because we had a very close relationship, and I kind of advised with her whenever I did a photo project. I would love to talk to her about it. Again, in a very Balkan way, like, she wouldn't be interested, but she would cook and then she would give advice. Then I thought, like, okay, what is this, where when I become a subject or an object, what's the relationship, and of course, it was very interesting. What does it mean when my own daughter take an image of me and a naked body, which would, like immediately female, women, when they are naked, it's already sexualized, like even if you just say that, like it's something. Then, but what does it mean when it's a conversation or transaction between a mother and a daughter? And then I started to talk to her, and again it was, you know, really just a few sentences. I said like, would you do it? And she's like, oh, it might be interesting. Could I get into the museum for free if I do it? So that's the level of her interest. And then I told her like, okay, like, yeah, but you have to just, you know, like, you have to tell me what to do. And it was just a really a beautiful, interesting conversation where she just, you know, saw me as you know, just a, you know, object of that she needs to capture. And then we started to talk about, you know, like where she was when she was in my belly, and then she's like, okay, cover this and cover that, and then she started directing. And I mean, anyway, a long story short, it was beautiful to experience what a woman can see when she is 9 years old, before she gets into the place where society puts her, where she needs to be ashamed of her body, her boobs, her, you know, like her naked or nudity in general. And so I think I captured that very fragile moment before she gets, you know, before society shape her to see through the lens of, you know, being ashamed of the female body. And then we negotiated about, you know, like she said, like, you know, what to raise and what not, and that in this super interesting process of layering and raising, we added the drawings, and that became empowerment in a way, because from the legacy of the other works that I did, and yeah, that's how it was made.
No, it's great look to the future, because you're all connected. And I was just saying previously how all these women from Balkans, we are so much connected with our mothers, with our grandmothers. It's this kind of intergenerational connection, but also trauma that we are holding through the centuries, because these territories were always so dramatic. And in some way we have this kind of baggage that we are carrying with us, right? And this is exactly what actually this room with the installation that you created is talking about. So I would like that you tell us more about your relationship with archive. In a way, it seems that you like at the same time inhabit it and subvert it. Especially, I'm curious to tell us a little bit more, in your opinion, who has the right to again retell the history.
Yeah, that's something I kind of touched in a previous answer. I think that what many of my work is doing, at least for me, is trying to fulfill these different voids. And yes, I am very interested in archiving things, and then in the same time, you know, understanding that basically coming from not only political and social place where there is this continuity of tradition in a sense of really systematic archiving. So when you have these gaps, when you have these eruptions, then your identities or your power can be taken away. So yeah, like when we talk about the civilizations, or like the Eastern, Western, or who has all the artifacts, which museums and blah blah blah. You know, like you can understand that in a Balkan, in a connection to the Balkan, you know, it is, you know, we are part of Europe, which constantly was disrupted with the wars. And that's why this discontinuity basically brought this constant instability, and where we are currently as well, because it's, you know, like in our region, it can, you know, like there are massive protests, and we are on a verge of war constantly. So I think that many of us who come from this part of the world, like the Western Balkan, and we deal with the archives, we try to recreate them and make them, and not in a sense of turning to the archives and making the artworks from them, but actually, like in the artist practice, we are becoming those who are recreating the archives, or recreating the narratives which were lost.
And speaking and thinking of that, do you, with this show, speaking with a particular viewer, or who would be, or who is your imagined audience, and how does it change with changing the context, like Balkan, European, global?
I mean, first of all, when I was invited, when you invited me for Fotografiska, I thought that it's a great opportunity to go back to the actually working in a public space, because the Fotografiska is kind of a public space. It is an art institution, but it's more a public space. It's not, this hermetic white cube exhibition place which is prestige just because of the name or white walls. Just the number of people and the variety of the people that comes in, it's so great. And I come from, really a background of working in the public space. As I love doing that. I love being on the street, doing guerrilla actions, doing small interventions, social public projects. That's my, that's my passion. So I thought, it's so great to be in, also in that kind of environment. And parallel to that, of course, to have the gallery exhibition, like next week we are opening at Tanya Wagner, so, or Gallery Tanya Wagner, so please all come and join us on the 2nd. But yeah, so I never choose the public, so it would be so wrong, and I am my own public. I make my works just because I want to make them and I want to see them, and then I hope that others can read whatever they want to read in them, or feel and hopefully enjoy, or be discomfortable by seeing them, but still, it would be so wrong and presumption to create a target group out of the audience. It's kind of no, it's wrong.
I understand. I like the fact that you're your own audience. I would like to talk a bit about power, because in your work, in a kind of very explicit, sometimes very implicit way, you're talking about the power and the way it operates in our personal, political, and also systematic forms. And in today's world, I think that some kind of forms of insidious forms of violence are existing, that we are still normalizing them. We could talk about coercive control, emotional abuse, physical abuse, and so on. So, and especially exist in patriarchal systems like art world. So how do you navigate, how do you address, how do you confront those topics in your art?
I think that each work addresses that in a different way, and obviously sometimes it's really pointing into the certain niche, I would say, but I think that it's all connected, in this system which is wrong and not sustainable, and that we see falling apart around us, and all the frustration, wars, anger, misogyny, it's there, or constantly around us. So basically I just don't avoid them, and I love being sometimes very explicit about them. So, you know, for example, you mentioned the baggage, the installation that we have in the front, which is facing the work, we come with the bow. I think that, you know, just, you know, it's, you know, for me, you know, it's so, it was so simple because there are certain rules and that we need to obey, and this bow or ribbon, which is put in one place, and then, you know, where does it come, and what do we need, how do we need to dress, and what is our role. It really is a heavy weight that we just sometimes ignore, but it's unfortunately, as you said, like it's constantly present, and unfortunately in the art world, we really want to see. We don't want to see it, but it's as you know, like it's so.
Then what means for you? And maybe you can also send a message to young female artists to be a female artist talking about these kind of topics, war-related topics in a world that still demands beauty, clarity, neat conclusions, and so on.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't put myself in this position where I would give this kind of advice for like everyone has their own path and issues that they need to confront. But I think authenticity to your own subject, and really like being egoistic in fulfilling your own needs as an artist, but not on the path of some success or conquer, but rather answering the questions of why are you doing what you're doing, and what will that make sense in the future. And I mean, of course, you know, I've been doing art because I felt that that's my language, not because it's my career. Of course, it became my career, but it was my language. And we, like, with the text messages in this exhibition, we spoke so much about it, and like why I use text, and what it is. It is the way to communicate, is the way to feel comfortable, and if it's only a career that needs to, you know, deliver certain reward, then it's then when you turn back, it might be that you didn't do anything that really fulfilled you as an artist.
Yeah, beautifully said, thank you. I'm curious, do we have any maybe questions? Maybe about some particular body of work here? Okay, then I will just maybe ask you one final question. Is there here in the show any body of work that you feel specifically protective of? Or any work that you still, you're not settled with?
Yeah, I mean, that's a very hard question, or
only hard questions.
Yeah, only hard question. No, of course, like no. Each work is, you know, like I stand by it, and I think it's done. It's, you know, but in the same time, if we would do this exhibition again, it would be very different. What is amazing in art production or art making is that, you know, like you have certain ideas, and then it is always a dialogue. And I really, as we begin this conversation, I thought it's so wonderful that to make the exhibition in the dialogue with the curator. I love that. And in the dialogue with my mother, with my daughter, you know, like each of the works in this exhibition, like some of them are from 2003 to from 2001, and in a way I'm I'm really grateful for you as a curator to understand that it was good to include these old work and to create this dialogue between the new production, because it wouldn't make a huge difference if we didn't include these old works. So yeah, no, all is like it should be, but if we would do it all again, it would be completely new exhibition.
I really like this little sculpture object, fakbo, that we also decided actually to minimize it in a small pin. You can also find it in our museum shop and wear it proudly. Do you want to say something about it?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting dialogue with and somehow that's maybe it was very brave from the Fotografiska to accept this work. I think, I mean, it's a small gesture and I love it as an object, and maybe it's kind of like, I mean, I don't know, like I just love it as a message. It's something that kind of like tie everything's up, and again, like it is about the language, because like very often we use this fuck, or we kind of like use this word in a most of the time in a very negative way, but it's making love as well, like it's not like it's kind of like accepting and claiming, and I think that when it's tied together in this like in a bow or something as a present, we can kind of like as a woman claim the language as well and claim the narrative. So we change this narrative from being fucked up to being present in the moment and being a present as well.
So Šejla, who is XU? Her.
I don't know, her,
you,
she,
me.
Yeah, future you.
I would like that you all think about this, your past, present and future, and I hope you're going to be inspired by this amazing artist and her artwork. Thank you all for being with us. Yeah, and let's continue in more casual tone upstairs. Thank you.